Welcome to the ET Forum. If this is the first time you've been here, you're in for a treat. We talk a lot about different things with the colleges and manufacturing and training and et cetera. It's a really good forum to bring both manufacturing, engineering programs together, a lot of, and including Department of Education and such, which is what we did last week. We worked with them quite a bit. They did some presentations. We also have our vendors here. Thank you guys for coming and always supporting us. And Marilyn had showed the list up before. And I see some faces here. I know Steve from Bluegrass is here and Mark from Jaeger's here. I don't know if I saw, let me see who else was here. Just a second. I just went through the list and was looking at. But we always thank them for supporting this. When we go live, they help out quite a bit. We are looking at fall coming up, another 2 sessions or maybe a live session. Yeah, Richard's there. I see Richard. Yep. And so we're probably looking possibly to go live in fall. We're waiting to see. It all depends on what the colleges say at this point in time. If you haven't put your name in the chat box and organization, so your name and organization, please do so now. Some of you may have just come back on. Go ahead and do that. One thing I do want to ask everybody, are any of you doing fully online with any of the courses or online lecture with lab, like a hybrid type course? And have any of you put it on Florida Shines? I had a student from Tallahassee Community College wanting to take my fluid power class, which I had listed online, but I didn't get anybody in the college to sign up for it, and decided I'm only going to teach it 1 time a year in fall, so it'll fill up. And he's asking if he could take the class, and I said I'm not offering it. Well, it was on the schedule, but it's not out there now. I said that's because we canceled it. We didn't get any participants, but he was looking to do one. So if you're doing some type of independent study or something where he can go ahead and get on your class as a transient, he's willing to do that. Let me know. I'll forward your information to him. I've asked him to contact HCC because you guys do a lot over there. I didn't know if you were doing any fluid power. So I don't know if Shirley or anybody's on to, or Alex knows. But I sent him there, and I don't think they had it listed on as an online class anywhere. But I think that's something we need to be looking at. He can't finish up. He wants to graduate in summer, and that's the only class he has to have. And I just not allowed to teach it because I don't have any enrollment in it. So.
Can you teach it as special topics? I think Tracy was talking about some of that kind of.
I'm overloaded now. I can't take on anymore, to be honest with you. I'm teaching like 8 or 9 classes this summer in 12 weeks. I'm buried. I do not have time to do it. And I don't have anybody who's able to do it for me. I just told him, if he wants to wait till fall, he can, but he wants to graduate summer. So if somebody else wants to try that, let me know. I'll be glad to send him your way and help him set up. I have an online safety, which is the other class he needs. So you can take that with me if he chooses. But if you do safety online and you have fluid power, he'll take both at one location. And I think that would be okay.
Sam.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Send his information to me. I can't promise anything.
Okay.
The safety one he can probably do.
I can do that one. I've got mine online. I'm listed out there.
Yeah, we have it online as well.
Yeah. So
but
if he goes to you if he goes to you and you can do fluid power, then let him do the safety there as well.
Well, send his information to me and then I'll reach out to him. I can't promise it, but I will. Okay. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I'll let you make contact with him, so I'm not giving him any false hope here.
Probably one of the things that we can try to push forward, because we were supposed to be talking about the strategic plan. Certainly one thing could be to try to work on some strategies to kind of fix this problem or address this issue when we have these low enrollment single courses and we need students to move forward. Is there a way we can share them maybe? Or get more information about where they're offered online, or try to make sure that we offer some of these courses online that students can sign up for through Florida Shine or
Right.
whatever mechanism we can arrange to help some of these students get through their program in a timely manner. And that is actually on our list of potential things to do with for FLATE to work on going forward, kind of a bigger scale than some of the things that we're doing right now. So I'll just continue, Laura. Hopefully you'll get that momentarily.
It's going through the, firewall right now, but somebody needs to make me a host, I think, or a co-host.
You are a co-host. I made you one, I think.
No, it doesn't say that. Okay,
No.
I'll try it.
Um,
But it's still going through the firewall, so.
I'm just double checking if you co-host.
There it goes.
Okay. So that's one of the particular ideas we had on our list of things that we might share with the Department of Ed about what we might do going forward. Another thing we'll be talking about later today, I'm just going through what I can remember in my slides since I can't get the PowerPoint, was to develop a statewide advisory committee for the engineering technology degree. Maury's going to lead some discussion about that as we have our industry panel in a few minutes as well. The idea would be to share some folks from each college's advisory board with maybe one or two others that represent Florida Makes or the Leadership Council at Florida Makes, and use that to kind of help guide the ET form in the engineering technology curriculum across the state. So that was another idea we were talking about or thinking about putting on our longer term strategic plan. One of the things I would like to do is reestablish a program that came out in the past. It's been quite a few years ago. It was called the Endeavor Academy, where we supported, or industry supported, teacher externships. They did that in all of STEM, but we might just focus on manufacturing. We might focus on STEM, but finding ways to support that kind of a program for our K-12 teachers also, as well as maybe in a different mode or different focus, any of the two-year college and technical college faculty as well. So keep going. She's got a slide up here. Keep going. Next, one more. Well, let's stop here a second. Let's back up. Just to review our kind of our goals are around supporting our curriculum, and particularly getting Industry 4.0 manufacturing curriculum in place in the two-year colleges and the technical colleges. Work on it, making sure we have the best educators, so providing professional development, and definitely recruiting strategies, getting more students in the program. So, all right. So the ideas that you'll see on the next slide kind of includes these three, fall under these three kind of goals areas, and those are designated with the numbers in parentheses on the side, but we don't really need to pay too much attention to those numbers. That's just some accounting measures for me. All right, so here's the kind of wish list, I would say. Maybe not, maybe it doesn't, all of them don't apply. I'm just going to let you peruse this for a moment. And the next thing we're going to do is eliminate the ones that we already have our hands on, we're already working on, and that also don't require much in the way of financial resources, because we don't really have those right now dedicated to these things. And then we're going to actually look at those that would require longer term planning and also more investment.
What is the Adopt a School program? I don't even remember ever hearing about that.
So this is an initiative that the Florida Makes Advanced Manufacturing Workforce Leadership Council is just getting started, and they're trying to engage the industry across the manufacturers across the state in what you might think of as a typical industry adopting a school program. So that means they have some relationship with a particular school or a particular program within a school. So for us, it could be manufacturing academy or electronics academy or machining, something related. And they work with that program, ongoing throughout the year. They visit the class, or they might do tours or virtual tours. They might help with competitions and go to like the teaching day and help with projects, those kinds of things. So they're just getting out the door. We're working on some resources for the industry and pointing them to the school districts to connect with, to help find a high school or middle school that they might want to engage with in that way. So for us, it would be seeing if we could get some of the technical colleges and the two-year college programs engaged in that. For us, they maybe look like our advisory committees, but it may be good to house it under Adopt a School. We're not quite sure yet. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. But there's already some focus on those. So I took out the ones on that previous page that we're already kind of doing. And this is what's left. These are ideas that are will take some investment more in resources of all kinds. But anyway, we're going to make some plans going forward. So it's like I have number 3 and 4 is the same. So sorry about that. So establishing that teacher externship program for summer, they work for a month or so with a company doing whatever in the STEM area, or maybe just manufacturing. A really big idea that I've focused on for a long time in FLATE, but not ever been able to push it forward, is to actually kind of identify centers of excellence at the state colleges where the particular lab expertise might reside in 1 or 2 places in the state. And we really focus on that as a resource for not just the colleges, the state colleges, the high schools, and industry as well. So we would share that information with those resources with the regional associations, and also with the business advisors for Florida Makes. So that would just be constructing that whole program, doing some support for summer camps and any kind of advanced technology or STEM. We know these are effective programs for recruiting students and student awareness. So I think that's an important piece we'd like to get engaged in. Again, takes resources, takes people and money to get that going. A statewide virtual student project-based internship. So this would be a virtual internship idea based on projects. We might provide some project ideas and let industry, recruit industry, get them to match with students from somewhere in the state or locally, whatever we decide. These are all really kind of fuzzy ideas right now, guys.
Marilyn, can I say something on that one?
Yeah, sure.
Is that kind of a little bit like some of the thing that Ernie Friend and the folks up at Florida State College Jacksonville are trying to put together? I know you were at some of those.
Yeah, yes. And I've tried to push it to manufacturing, and continue to work with Ernie on some ideas. But again, it needs infrastructure for us to kind of push this forward. So, and then doing more PD with, for Industry 4.0, getting more high technology into our programs. In all the post-secondary programs, do professional development and partner with the university research program. So I think this is a place where we can get some more subject matter expertise and help them translate some of the technologies they're working on that are important for manufacturing down into the colleges and the high schools. Okay, so if you can, I'm going to leave this up for just a second or a couple of minutes. Put the numbers of your top 3 choices. Can you do that into the chat? And this includes everyone. So the vendors might be thinking this isn't for them, but I think all of us are focused on enhancing manufacturing education in the state. So everyone can vote if you want. Just put three, you can put 3 numbers. Let's use number 3 for the one that's duplicated instead of 4. Okay, I see some numbers coming in here. Peter, vote. Pete says he can't make up his mind. Okay. Thank you, Pete. All right. We can keep entering those, but you'll have to remember, write something down. I'm going to give you like count of 10, and then we'll move on. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Laura. Thank you for all your responses, everyone. Appreciate it. Okay, go on to the next one. Okay, so we're going to go to our industry panel. Did I mess this all up? Okay, I think I told Alan, I think I messed up your presentation here, so we're gonna have to go to do this industry panel. I'm gonna turn it over to Maury right now. Let's see what we got.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is my honor to be able to moderate these panel discussions. And we have a special guest today. I start with introducing ladies first. Michelle Hines from Human Resource Manager at TSE. And then we have Dr. Orjai Norden, Vice President of Economic Development and Workforce Education at Polk State College. Then we have Mr. Peter Syrak from Quality Assurance Director from Steel Dynamics. And we do have Mr. Khan Champabaranara from Palette One, who is CIO. If I pronounce your last name wrong, please excuse me. So we are going to start with our first question from the panel. And that would be, first of all, let me know if I did pronounce your last name correctly or wrong. If you want to correct it, please. Anyone?
No, you were fine. Champa Vanarath, you were on it.
Okay.
Yeah, you actually got my last name right. Most people mispronounce it. It's Syrak.
So first question is, if you would please describe what is it that you do at your operation plant first, and then describe any experience you have serving in local industry advisory board. It doesn't need to be industry advisory board, any advisory board that you have served, particularly if there's industry advisory board. Thank you. So we'll start with ladies. Michelle, if you don't mind, I'm gonna call you with your first name from now.
That is perfect. It's a lot easier than my last name. Good morning. Okay. I'm the HR manager at TSE Industries in Clearwater. We are a family-owned manufacturing company, been around for over 60 years. We have the third generation is running our company currently. So we're very stable, we're long-term, we know what we're doing, and we are in total growth mode right now. We're hiring anybody from PhD chemists down to entry-level operators and everyone in between. So that's kind of what we do here. We have about 300 employees. And my involvement, yes, I am currently the chairperson for Lara Sharp's Engineering Technology Advisory Board. I am also involved in Tampa Bay Works Talent Pipeline Management Collaborative, where this would be a really good connection, and Laura's already aware of that. And we've already gotten Laura involved there. I have been on Pinellas Technical College's Machining Program Advisory Committee for 15 years. But I handed that over when I joined Laura's committee.
Great.
I think that's everything you're looking for.
Yes, great. Thank you. Orzai?
Good morning. So as an administrator at Polk State College, I have the pleasure of serving as a resource member for all of the advisory boards at the college. Each AS program is required by procedure to have an advisory board. Please forgive my dog who's snoring in the background. So our advisory boards are comprised of industry folks as well as individuals, perhaps from other colleges or the school district. And so together that team helps to inform curriculum and ensure that the training that we're providing our students is appropriate and it's current. I serve on a couple of other community boards in Polk County for chambers as well as for the county broadly speaking. So I'm grateful for the individuals who serve on our industry board. So thank you.
Great, thank you. Pierre?
Yep. So I'm the quality director at CO Dynamics. CO Dynamics is in Tampa, we reverse engineer aircraft parts and then sell them aftermarket. As a quality director, my team is the one that qualifies, verifies, validates the product. And then we're highly involved with the FAA approval process as well. But I've been on, I just recently joined St. Pete College's ET advisory board with Laura. I've been on the advisory board for the ET program at HCC for a couple, well, I don't know, 2 or 3 years now. Because I'm an HCC alumnus, I'm extremely active with HCC just in general. I'm on their alumni committee as well as the honors advisory committee too. But I've been the chair for the industrial advisory committee for FLATE for, I don't know, 3-4 years now. Marilyn could probably tell you better than I could, because I've been an active member with FLATE since I moved back to Florida in 2011. And then, involved with the Florida Makes Advanced Workforce Development Committee, in some of those things as well. All of which are just doing wonderful things around the state. It's extremely motivating, and it's easy to continue to give to those programs when you've got so many people like all you guys that are on this. So
great, thank you. Con?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Con Champavanerath. I currently chair the advisory board for Polk State Advanced Technical Center. So I oversee all of the technology for Pallet One. We are a pallet manufacturer, and we also have multiple business lines below us that we own, from trucking companies to pressure treated lumber. So a lot of our products are in the lumber industry. I'm responsible for all things technology in those areas. We work closely with the advisory boards. I think we have a great relationship, providing feedback and working together to create the right curriculums for the schools. And just excited to be a part of this.
Great. I'd like to follow what Con was ending his speech And that would be a question for everyone. Please highlight any positive and effective role that advisory board has played. Anything that you could remember that when you were serving in advisory board, that was, hey, that was positive. I'm happy that that happened. I'm happy that we had advisory board, and I'm happy that I was serving in advisory board. Anything that you would remember? We'll start with Michelle.
Absolutely. It's definitely a positive experience for me and my company. Some examples are we get to help have a say in how the curriculum is written, because we want to be sure that whatever people are being trained in is going to transfer nicely into our workplace. So that's really important that our voice is heard, and it is. We take that very seriously. Interns. We've had the opportunity of hiring quite a few interns, and sometimes it turns into a full-time job opportunity, sometimes not. And that's really, really helpful. And we feel it's our duty to give back to the community and to have these external just involvements with educators and so forth. But it's also really important that, like I said, it's kind of a win-win, because we get to have our voice heard, and there's something in it for us too.
Great, thank you. And Peter?
Yeah, so I think Marilyn will support me on this, that whether I was on the advisory boards or not, I'd be really involved with all these various things and doing what I can. And so for me, one of the biggest things is just the feeling that I'm helping, especially at the community college level. You know, we're really helping people that need help, I think, in some cases. And so just the wonderful feeling there. But I know in particular, like and Laura's advisory team, I was able to input some metrology, because obviously I have a quality background, and everybody's always talking about machinists, and sometimes we forget that we actually have to validate and verify the parts that they're making. And so I was able to input some of that and help her out there. So that was very rewarding, and I always thank you again, Laura, for that.
Yeah, and we go next to Khan, and then we go to the Orozai. Khan?
Yeah, so I think the one that sticks out to me amongst many others is the fact that we were looking at an automation curriculum, and one of the things we brought up was, hey, we really think having a class in networking was important, because in industry, cybersecurity is probably one of our main big deals. And when you have an automation guy who's doing configurations and plugging things to the network, you have a network security guy who's going to fight with him because he wants to know, what is he plugging on the network, what's going on. And because we had that insight, you know, I felt we could prevent some potential issues down the road. And I think to provide that feedback to you, and then we had it added to the curriculum, I think that was exciting to me. And I think that was real time, showing the value of having an advisory board like that for us. So.
Orta, you have served and you have been present in all of our advisory board meetings, and you have been in other departments as well. So please, beside the highlight that you remember from our advisory board, if you remember any other positive effect that other advisory board have made and it was important.
Sure. One of the best things I like to hear is when a local industry teammate says, we love to hire your graduates, or we only hire your graduates. I was on an advisory board for a meeting for EMS, fire rescue. And one of the individuals from Polk County Fire Rescue said, we only hire your graduates. And I was like, yes, that's so great. And furthermore, I mean, you know, I think Khan has said something really insightful as well. I mean, we need to know. I mean, we are looking toward our local industry folks to tell us, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What do we need to tweak? Because from a from a talent pipeline perspective, that's what we're doing is we're building and sustaining a talent pipeline for the county, for y'all, and for prospective investors who are coming to the county. So there's a lot that there's a lot of meaning and a lot of investment that our industry folks play at our college. So I'm just always grateful.
Yeah. Serving in industry advisory board myself for years in Illinois and here in Florida, at least I can say one thing from Florida, and don't want to take too much of your time. The last time in our advisory board, I asked industry members, what's your requirements for hiring? Do you require any industry certification? And the representative from Coca-Cola told us that the only certification that we require for a new hire is Polk State college credit certificate from automation and mechatronics. So we are very proud that when industry is giving the value of our own certification. And they don't have any requirements for any industry certification, but they have requirements for the new employee to have our college credit certification. So we are doing something positive. My next question from panel member would be pretty much similar thing, or at least a little bit detouring from the area of saying, bringing it into the state. I'd like to know what is it that you're looking for if a program director comes to you and asking you to serve in advisory board? Because I do remember that I was prepared when I was going for the job interview. They told me, hey, you need to wear a necktie. Hey, you need to be polite. You need to do this. You need to do that. What is it that Moritusi should know when comes to you and asking you to serve in our advisory board? How effective those factors is going to be? Please describe. Give us some advice, some guidance. What is it that we need to do? Michelle?
Absolutely. Well, in a perfect world, it would be every employer in industry would want to serve on some type of board to give back and to provide community partnerships and to ensure that we have a good talent pipeline. But that's a perfect world. In the real world, most people don't really want to be bothered with anything extra. So, you understand as you see the same faces, I do a lot of this speaking and so forth because I don't say no. If it's education, or industry or some type of partnership, I just don't say no. But the majority of the population, in my opinion, they need to know what's in it for me. What's in it for me? So if I'm Laura and I'm approaching, a new a committee member, I better be ready to answer, or me as the chairperson, I better be ready to answer that. Okay, well, what do I get out of it? It's time, it's commitment. And so that's definitely important. You really almost have to do a sales job for most people. And yeah, I think, just the win-win, and making sure that, that their time invested is going to be worth it and it's going to result in a future talent pipeline, because that's what it's all about.
Great, thank you.
I hope that helps.
Thank you. Con?
Yeah, I think for me, for many who we've achieved our career goals, and for me, it was a way I could give back. I think about where was I at when I was a student coming through, and what could I do to give myself while I was coming up, So that was one of it. Part two was, are you really interested in having a true board so that you could do it, or were you doing it because it was a requirement? Because I'm familiar with the campus, I've had a chance to meet with everyone. I saw that, hey, this was true interest from a school who wants to make things better. So So the engagement was also there. Because the other piece is I want to make sure that we have an aligned pipeline, so that when I bring in your graduates, I already know that some of the things that they've been learning and how we can just build on top of that together. So those are, for me, the top three things, is to make sure that, yes, that we're aligned for the students when they come in. We know what they've been learning because we've been a part of it, and we just want to grow on top of that, because at the end of the day, we know it is hard to find great people. It is easy to find a bunch of resumes and people who interview well, but it is not that easy when you really look at what's behind all of those things. So so for me, it's important for me to be a part of it, and to have insight and to provide that feedback.
Great. Peter, any of your guidance?
I'm sort of with Michelle on this one. When she talks about, if in a perfect world, you wouldn't have to pitch it to anybody. You could just simply, pick and choose. Hey, we want that person on our board, and they would just happily do it. And in my mind, I'm like, if you have to pitch it to somebody, maybe you don't want them on your board. They would see the value in that opportunity, and know that already. I would also say, sometimes you gotta be cliche, think outside the box when you're thinking about advisory board members. Because, for example, if somebody came up to my boss, the general manager, VP of SEAL Dynamics here, he's the kind of guy that understands the value of serving on that board and want to do it, but he's also has the integrity to say, I wouldn't be a good board member. The person that you're looking for needs a background of experience that I don't have. And so he'd probably say, but there is this guy in my organization that would do a really good job. He's not typically the kind of person that knows about these kinds of opportunities. So maybe we could chat with him about it. And so make sure that when you do invite somebody to be on the board, if they're not the one, they don't seem to have that time, make sure you prompt them and say, hey, look, is there anybody else in your organization that would be a good fit for this? Because we think that there's probably somebody in your organization that could really bring value both to your company and to our board. So make sure you prompt them on that. Great.
Thank you so much. We are moving toward direction, leaning more, bring our discussion to the statewide. So before we do that, Laura, would you please go back to the slide that has some yellow highlighted? Yes. I would like to ask Ortai to explain how Perkins comes in when we are talking industry advisory board or any advisory board at the local or a statewide. Ortai, would you please explain a little bit about the Perkins role in this?
It's my pleasure.
Excuse me, please do just a minute or two background on Perkins. We use
absolutely, Marilyn. I was going to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. The Carl D. Perkins Grant is a federal grant. It is kind of mandated by federal statute, and it's been around for decades. It's been reincarnated. It was reauthorized in 2018. The then administration signed the Perkins 5, but more formally called Strengthening Career and Technical Education for the 21st Century. So it's a federal allocation that supports only career and technical education at the school district and the post-secondary level. So money gets dispersed to the state Department of Education, and then so FLDOE, for example, has a formula that determines how much of the allocation goes to secondary and how much goes to post-secondary. And furthermore, and to be even more specific, not just CTE education, but only as high as the associate in science level. So your certificates and your AS degrees. not your bachelor's. So for Florida, it's not quite 50-50. It's just I think the scale tips a little bit more towards the secondary side. So drilling further down, just past the allocation for post-secondary or the institutions in the Florida college system, each school in the Florida college system, each state college, depending on the number of students who are CTE students, then that helps determine how much allocation you get, essentially. So, I mean, maybe an easy way to think of it is like big school, bigger money, as it were, but it's a little more than that. So, so in 2018, Perkins 5, the latest iteration of the grant, was authorized. And there's a huge difference between Perkins 4 and Perkins 5, and there are two major differences. Not the only, but I would say the two most major are an emphasis in special populations. And by special populations, I mean could be individuals who are considered non-traditional students. So students who are going into fields that traditionally have not been of that gender. Students who are of an adult population, could be students who have aged out of foster care, students who are in the military. So there's a list of special pops, and that list is defined in statute. The second major difference between 4 and 5 is the emphasis on stakeholders, and this is where these excerpts from statute are drawn. So obviously you can read the act, at your leisure, but within the act, within the Perkins Act, section 134D and section 134E talk specifically about representatives of the state board, local workforce development boards, and a range of local or regional businesses or industries. And then E, input for development, implementation, et cetera, identification of relevant standards, curriculum, industry recognized credentials, and current technology and equipment. So Maury had asked me, how does Perkins 5 speak to or address advisory boards? And while that phrase advisory boards isn't used per se, the input from local representatives from businesses and industries is absolutely included. So it is a mandatory part of the Perkins application to include how, as an institution, we collaborate with a number of stakeholders to include industry leaders. And I will tell you that just last week, Polk State, and I know a couple other folks who are on this call went through a similar experience. We had our Perkins audit with the FLDOE, and and they want to know, well, let me see the minutes, let me see the agenda, let me see the sign-in sheet, just as we need to see evidence of stakeholder input. So how did you talk to people? When did you talk to people? What did you talk about? It's that minutia isn't in the grant application, but you can rest assured that you'll be expected at some point to demonstrate compliance with those mandates. So it's this discussion, I think, is so great and so robust, and I'm glad that Maury included a mention of the importance of industry rapport and relationships as it pertains to the Perkins grant. So
thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Marilyn, how much time do I have? Marilyn, how much time do we have?
Unmute, Marilyn.
Yeah, no, I got it. Finally, couldn't click the button there. About 5 minutes, we can do a little discussion here.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I'd like to get very quickly the opinion from all panel members. Do you remember the highlights that you brought, and give us some example from industry advisory board you have experienced? I'd like to bring that into the statewide. First of all, let us know that if you think there's a common needs between local industry and statewide, and then those highlights, those positive experience that you have can be implemented at the statewide. If we form industry advisory board, and explain a little bit about that, since we have a very short time and we don't want to go any further. We'll start with Michelle again. Michelle, you're in a hot seat today because we always start with you.
That's okay, and I will try to talk really, really fast.
Okay.
So when I first heard about, this and talking about a statewide advisory board, I first thought about it negatively because, we're so geographical and kind of industry focused. And, I don't really pull students from Brevard College because it's not in our geographical area. But then when I thought about it more, I am a total proponent of it because it would we could share resources, we could share best practices, we could share students, we could hire, from anywhere in the state, and we wouldn't have to lose that geographical kind of industry focus. We could do subcommittees based on industry and geographics.
Thank you. And Peter?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not sure if I understood the question exactly.
Yeah, the highlights that you mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
as a positive result of having industry advisory board at the local stage. Do you think those positive can be implemented if we have statewide advisory board?
Yeah, oh, definitely. But like Michelle points out, the demographics are different, so it's about understanding the scope. The scope would be different, and so you got to figure out what that scope is, capitalize on the benefits of that scope, statewide, like shared resources, as she said, and best practices. But it's important that each area that has a particular kind of industry or something like that, you don't want to, you got to make sure, hey, that's probably shouldn't be in the statewide scope. But as long as it gets scoped out right, it can be an extremely effective tool, assist, organization, so long as it's not stepping on the toes of the local advisory boards.
Great. Con?
Yeah, I definitely see benefit in that, especially for us as a company. We have multiple locations in Florida. So for us, we have a larger view, and it's definitely an opportunity for us to make sure that we stay in alignment at the state level, because there are certain things that are particular to our state, that, whether it's social economics or things like that, whatever challenges are happening throughout these regions. I think at the state level, I definitely see a benefit to that.
And Oratai, would you please explain a little bit the benefit that this statewide advisory board can make effective or positive effect on education, like program learning objectives or Florida Department of Education supervisor?
I should lean on Bob Levins because I think he's on this call. But the first thing that I thought about actually when you mentioned this is the governor's executive order around Governor DeSantis has a goal that is to make Florida #1 in workforce in the state. And I will tell you that FLDOE certainly helps to lead that charge and helps to keep us inspired with that charge. So that said, I think that having a statewide advisory board would be in alignment or in the spirit of thinking statewide about how institutions can pull together collaboratively, as well as with their, not just local industry, but also with their Career Source Florida and all the local Career Source the local boards. I think that would be a robust advisory board. So it's in keeping, I think, with the state's goals.
Great. I think our time is over. I do appreciate every single panel members that participated. We benefit a lot. Our next goal or action item is to talk about bylaws, who is going to be voting members, and how representatives are going to be coming from different locations. So we have a lot to do until our next forum. And if you don't mind, I'm going to send you guys an email, and including existing industry relationship members that we have 4. If anybody like to serve in industry relations committee, please let Marilyn know, and Marilyn is going to contact me and let me know. So as a group, we are going to continue working on this, and through electronically, hopefully by next forum, we have something to present as a package and get everybody's opinion and feedback. And my last question is, am I allowed to send you email, the panel members? Am I allowed to continue and serving? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Peter? Yeah, good. Thank you. Marilyn, I'm done.
Okay.
All
Next,
right.
Marilyn, could
If there was any question for the panel members, was there any questions for panel members?
I have at least a short comment.
Okay.
The panel
Gilbert,
member,
USF. Thank you.
sorry, Richard Gilbert at USF. The panel members presented their perspectives from their side of the fence, and the fence is a very, 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 very small fence, by the way. You barely see it. You just walk right through it. And they were all reflecting on characteristics of a statewide advisory board that are important. However, there's another one. It turns out, maybe the panel members aren't really aware of it, that our engineering technology program is the best in the country. Of course, you knew I would say that, but it's the best in the country in that it already has this well-defined, tight organization of at least 20 colleges, and we have a set of standards and benchmarks that are applicable all across the state. So the state advisory committee that we are wondering if you guys want to serve on and promote is going to get A, national attention, and B, is going to be extremely important to make sure that what we call the core part of the ET degree is consistent across the state. And there was one last thought. A couple of you, or one of you, expressed concerns about serving your own regional needs, and that's not even a greed statement. That's an important statement. And most of that serve the local needs is focused in, I'll say, year 2 of the program without going into detail, whereas year 1 of the program is what we call the core. And it's extremely important that every college in the state has a clear mandate from what the core should look like from a state perspective. They can adjust it to their own perspective easy enough. So we do want this to happen, and we do want you to help us, but you're going to be making a pretty big impact statewide, and it will be a national model. Okay, I'm done with my pitch.
Yeah, thank you, Richard. Yeah, thank you, Richard. That was great. And that's why we brought the Florida Department of Education and learning objectives of our program. Every 3 years, we review that. And your input at the statewide is extremely important because it's going to be pretty much uniform based on a real foundation, a good foundation that is coming from all over the state. And as Richard said, this is, as a matter of fact, it may make impact at the national level. Thank you, Richard.
My pleasure.
Okay, great. Sam, I'm gonna, am I on here? Yeah. Sam, I'm gonna take the next few slides and just kind of remind everyone about the committees.
Sounds good.
Can we go forward, Laura, please? A couple of slides, and I think 2. So a couple of we're gonna skip this and come back to it because we're running a little bit late.
I guess I'll take over then. Let Laura and Maury talk about the MSSC articulation to ET core. We talked about this in the last, well, we didn't talk, we discussed having this meeting last ET forum a week ago, but we kind of ran out of time. So we have blocked time this meeting for them to discuss the MSSC articulation. All right, Laura or Maury, whichever one would like to start.
Thank you.
Laura, would you like to start?
Sure. So just to catch everybody up from what happened last week, in case you weren't here.
You can go to the next slide, maybe. Sorry.
That's okay.
It might be easier.
Perfect. So thank you. So we had Catherine Wheeler on last week, and she is in charge of statewide certifications. And so one of our questions was, what are the implications of being a 15 credit gold standard articulation? Because that's what the MSSC CPT Certified Production Technician certification is worth. And it is stated that it goes into the engineering technology AS degree. And it doesn't specifically say what courses in the statewide articulation, but almost all of us, I believe, are doing it for the classes that are listed there, which is part of the engineering technology core. And one of the advantages to this, which affects probably the high schools more than it affects the colleges, is that the high schools get more FTE funding for the MSSC because it's 15 credit articulation. It's 0.5 versus anything under 14 credits is
0.25.
Yeah, so so there is a little bit of a funding gap, and we do need to keep that in consideration for any decisions, because if we decide as a group that the articulation should change, then that would trickle down into the high schools as well. But we were also told by both Bob Levin and Catherine Wheeler that it was less than 50 students who actually got the full MSSC CPT certification. But I do believe they said that was maybe 2018 or 2019 numbers. I did email Catherine Wheeler about the current numbers. It may have gotten lost in her email if hers is like mine. So I will try and get that number from her again. So the reason why I wanted to revisit this is when MSSC first came out and it was proposed as this articulation, the standards were a little bit different. And the standards did include electronics in it. And so I think a lot of us didn't really have a problem giving credit for the intro to electronics course. But now that the standards have changed, there is no electronics in it. The only mention of electronics is in the maintenance awareness piece, and it's all the way at the end. And it says recognize potential maintenance issues with basic production systems, including knowledge of when to inform maintenance personnel about problems with electrical systems. That's it. That's all it says, which is really vague. Now, the other issue, now I understand that everybody articulates differently at colleges, okay? So another issue that is local to us at St. Pete College is that we now are being told we have to do a course-to-course articulation for anything, whether it's curriculum or certifications. So now I'm being told that I have to do a crosswalk between the MSSC CPT standards and the standards for all the courses that I will give the 15 credits to. Now, I can very easily do that for safety, quality, measurement, and manufacturing processes, but I cannot do that for electronics. And we don't have any other courses that are in all of our subplans. right? I mean, the only other course that's in the core that's not there is AutoCAD, and obviously that's not going to work. So we're stuck, and we're kind of in this debate right now of what we're going to do, because there is a portion of us at the college who do not believe in just making up courses to throw credit into. It's, again, I understand that's a local issue for us. But I also wanted to ask if anybody else is having this kind of issue. And then I wanted to bring up the conversation, because I know this has been had before, of whether it should still be a 15 credit articulation. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that if, let's say, it is decided that it should be lower to, let's say, 12, each college can still decide to give 15 credits if they want to, through a local articulation. There's nothing that prohibits anybody from doing that. So again, I open it up to Maury. I don't know if you want to add any more to that, but this is to open it up
you covered it very well. And the only thing that I'd like to add is last week was mentioned, your college will have an option to go with 12 or 15 credit hours. And I think the most important thing for us is we are comparing, or we are considering our reputation versus the funding. And so when local or individual college have options to go between 12 and 15, that's up to them how to decide. But that is going to create another reputation problem, because when the students are transferring from a school to a school, particularly when they're going to go to a baccalaureate program, and they take this 2-year as 2+2, then that is not that much credible when a funny or dummy course has been made to give 3 credit hours. At Polk State, we don't give credit hours to electronic at all. We give 12 credit hours for safety, quality measurement, and manufacturing process materials. And we have a 3-hour course that is nothing in it, and just give it to these students as a transfer credit to make that 15 credit hours. That is not a good thing to do. So what we need to do, I would suggest probably at the local level, we consider all the factors. Other factors that was mentioned and is on the slide is cost sharing or profit sharing when dual enrolled students is involved. And we have to consider all those numbers, how dollar-wise is going to affect our secondary schools, and how dollar-wise is going to affect our own school. And then compare that with our reputation, and next forum, bring this back to voting or discussions first. I personally prefer to go with the 12 credit hours. I don't believe it's going to have great effect dollar-wise at Polk State or secondary school. Sam mentioned that it does at their area, but this needs further discussions and follow-up activities in our next forum.
Yeah, thank you, Maury and Laura. I think in the interest of time, we're going to move ahead, but we would like to perhaps put a little committee together. A number of years ago, we did a survey and had each school have one vote on this articulation about should it be 12, should it be, typically it was between 12 and 15 credit hours. A couple people voted for 9 in those days, or when we did that the last time, but we did go by the majority and kept the 15 at that point in time. But it might be time to review that again. There's some more additional schools participating now that weren't in that part of the conversation, and it would be good to get their input on that. So I'd like to get a couple people together with Maury and Laura. If anyone else interested, please put your name in the chat just to help us devise the survey that we'll send out sometime. I don't know, probably should wait till early fall, just a little bit before we do the next forum, just because school's getting to be coming to a close in the next month. I don't think we could get it all done by then. But anyway, if you're interested, let us know, and we'll have a short meeting and work on the survey for everyone.
One small comment I'd like to make, Marilyn, very short. Because our core is common between all the schools, and those courses that you are mentioning under MSSC CPT are our core courses. So the idea that each college will have an option to have 15 credit hours or 12 credit hours, I'm not that much of supportive of that idea, even though the state will allow to do that. But because this are core courses is common, and we cannot have different core at different schools.
No, the statewide articulation, I'm pretty sure maybe Orthai could chime in if she's still on, is of only one number. It can be 15 or it can be 12. Now, what Laura suggested was that just like we have local articulations for CAD courses from high school or the tech colleges into our programs for that particular course, we could develop local articulations for the other, for possibly for electronics or whatever other course. But the statewide articulation for MSSC CPT can only be one number.
That is correct. Thank you.
Okay, one other thing I would like to mention too is if we're talking MSSC CPT, those of us that have logistics programs, I'd like to try to get another meeting with that group. Maybe Valencia can take the lead on it, but to do the MSSC CLT to go into the transportation courses and maybe possibly do something with that for the not transportation courses, but the mechanical courses for the logistics and supply chain technician piece of it. If a student comes out of high school with that, because I have a high school here doing it, and I don't have the program in yet, but they would articulate in as well. What would be the difference as far as a gold standard on that versus the CPT? Is it too specialized, or, I don't understand.
The CLT is a much shorter kind of certification, so it's different, and you'd have to examine that, and it may already be on the list, actually.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but it could be if somebody's added it.
It's on the list. I don't remember how many
Right.
articulation credits, but remember from the conversation with Catherine, it's all about clock hours. So as Marilyn said, it doesn't have as many clock hours requirements as MSSC CPT. Right. And so that's one of the reasons why the state supports it being at the full 15 credits is because of the number of credit hours or clock hours.
Right.
Okay, let's go ahead and move to the committees. So again, if anyone is interested, I don't see a lot of people just run into the chat box to work on this with us. So you'll be hearing from us if you don't. Be recruiting you one-on-one. There you go.
Go again?
Go ahead. I think go 2 slides. Actually, let's go to the next one. So I just wanted to quickly remind you that we have these 4, we set up these 4 committees, I guess a year ago or maybe last fall. The one we just talked about, industry relations, Maury is working on. Sam's in charge of the second one on student enrollment. He's not going to give a report this time, but hopefully we'll next time. Go to the next one. And you'll see on the slides a few of the things that they hope to work on. We're going to hear from Ron shortly. And lastly, oh no, there's a couple more. Go ahead. On curriculum. And then we have one to work with our vendors. Al's going to, is in charge of that, and Brad. And lastly, one on faculty presentations and professional developments, and that's Laura and myself. So we're going to go to those meetings. And I think what we're going to do, if Ron, if you don't mind, go to the presentation by, from the vendors from Adams Air. He wanted to do a short talk if he's still here and waiting for us.
Marilyn, this is Alan. They had to sign off. They thought they were going to be at 9:30 and they had to sign off.
Well, that's my bad. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. We'll just move on. If you don't mind, I'll just take 30 seconds and cover this. I just want to thank all the vendors that are present. And if you would, send me your contact information. I think I have most of you, but I see some names and I'm not quite familiar. But I would appreciate it if you would send me your contact information. That's Alan Jeffries. I'm in my emails in the chat box, but I just want to say thank you. And hopefully when we can get back to our regular meetings, I appreciate your support. All right, that's all I really have right now.
So should we go on to Ron now?
Yeah, just go forward, Laura. I think Ron's slides are.
Oh, there you go. Hey,
Yeah.
by the way, before you get started, Ron, is it your birthday or something?
Happy birthday. Yay.
Oh my gosh, man, did you finally make 30 or what?
29.
Oh
forever.
man, darn, yeah.
I'll have to go to 39 forever. Maybe.
Happy birthday,
That's
Ron.
right.
Happy birthday, Ron.
Yes, happy birthday.
And happy birthday to Pete Sirac also. I think his birthday's today or tomorrow or the next day or soon.
All right. You should have sent cakes out, Maryland, to everyone.
I should have. Next time.
Yeah, I guess you can't really send a cake through Zoom. Oh well.
Well, at least it'll keep us all skinnier.
So one of the sad things about not having live meetings is that you can still bring a cake to a live meeting.
Next slide, Laura.
All right. Yeah, the curriculum committee, and there actually is a slide with stuff on it. I know. So the curriculum committee, we actually have a number of volunteers on the curriculum committee, which just basically right now, we have communicated via email, but I've started some of the projects that we had in the past, which was one of the course materials sharing, which essentially was the Google Drive where we've got the ability to share specific materials for courses. The way that actually is kind of working is when somebody needs materials, we've been giving the names of the people who teach that course to the person who is like, I need some information, I need some materials. And then we get the people from the other schools that are teaching that, and we've got a place for them to put that material, which is on the Google Drive. One of the things I would like to see, which is more working with the Department of Education, and they took down the Orange Grove, I think it was called the Orange Grove, which was a materials repository at the statewide level. When my work in the SDNS has taught me that the best place to share materials is really on a per class basis. The way that people functionally do materials in courses is based on the courses. So I have requested that SDNS look at a more formalized process by which you had a repository for information that was based on a course. So for ENC 1101, the state would be able to have an ENC 1101 repository, which made a lot more sense than the way that the Orange Grove was doing it on a topical basis. But that's not how we functionally work. We work on a course basis. But we do have that. It is functional. It is working. We are sharing. And you know, the way that and I also know how it's actually practically working, which is how people are actually using it. The other project that we're working on is this industry certification, that there was a desire for specific industry certifications to lead to course credit, not necessarily credit at a program level, but credit at a course level. And you know, with the manpower that we've got, we don't have any bandwidth to be able to figure out how to make all of this work. So what we've been looking to do is make this happen with the burden of proof is really on the industry certification, whoever offers it. So what I've done, and we've already done this, is took from the SDNS a database. We've pulled the course outcomes for specific courses and compiled those. The second part of this whole thing is where I'm at right now. And right now I don't have really the time to work on this as a project because I'm writing a ABET self-study. So that's kind of taking priority over everything else. But it is something I plan to return to, is to take those outcomes, compile them to a set of core outcomes that go with every course, and then publish those outcomes. Then what we would do is we would take those outcomes, and any industry certification that says, hey, we would like to lead to a credit for a specific course, the burden of proving that their industry certification meets the outcomes for a course specifically would be on the industry. And the way we would have to do this is form a review board that could say, okay, if this is what's, and basically be an articulation review board to say, does this industry certification show that they've met all the outcomes for a specific course, and then statewide level articulate it. The good news is that I sit on those committees that at the statewide level that can make these decisions. Bad news is that everything that we're planning on doing is very time intensive because it requires a review. So right now that's the biggest issue in moving forward with it, but I think we've got a decent plan for that. So Marilyn, you can jump. I think I got another slide in here.
Yeah. That's Laura. Thank you, Laura.
The course material sharing, you can see the courses. Those are the courses that we've got materials that people have wanted to share. And it is a Google Drive folder. So that actually is there and functional. And normally what happens in this is somebody mails me and says, I'm going to be teaching ETI 1644. It's been approved. I need to teach it. I have nothing. And then I've created a folder specifically for that. Then I send a message through the ET Forum email list to each of the chairs to say, hey, is anybody teaching ETI 1644 and be willing to share the materials? They pop it into the directory. I tell the person that it's in the directory, and that's the functional approach that goes with that.
Yeah, it would be great if, oops, I think I'm muted. Great if everyone got familiar with this. I put the link in the chat. And I believe everyone has access. Isn't that right, Ron?
Yeah, everybody has access to it.
So you can just go and pick the folder there. The courses are in there by their numbers with the titles.
Yeah, it's public if you know the link, which is not something you can't search on it because there's no, I mean, you can't go out and Google this location, but if you know the link, you can find it. It's pretty much how it works.
And it's also in this same folder where we put all the materials from the ET forums as well, the presentations, the recordings, the chat, downloaded chat file. So if there's resources in there that you were interested from the meetings, then certainly that's a place to go as well. So it's all right in one place.
Yeah, and I do have, I do know, because I've got access to the SCNS database, I know everybody who's teaching any specific course. So when somebody does ask me, hey, I'm teaching this course, who else teaches it? I do send that on to the person who's asking. I give them the list of it, and I also give them access to that. I can show them how to find that information too.
Okay, great. Next slide, Laura, let's go ahead.
I remember what I realized, like, I don't remember what I remember giving you slides. So this is kind of the big summary of what we said with what I just said about the industry certifications. It's a multi-step process to make this happen. I have all the steps that need to occur, so it's essentially now an execution of that. But I have actually, since I have some work studies that work for me, I've started them on. I went ahead and did this outcomes compilation. So they've gone through, found everybody who's teaching a number of specific courses, really looking at just right now the ET core courses, and have compiled those. Now that might be useful in its own right, having a compilation of all the outcomes that go with any specific course to say if you're teaching this course, because what happens right now is any school that plans on teaching a course is going to submit that course through the SCNS. Well, that's eventually going to end up to me. And the good news is on most of those, it's really easy to do, because what they've done is they've gone to other schools and they've copied what was there, and I can easily go ahead and do the approval for it. So that makes life very easy on my part. But in some cases, the ones that are more complex are people that are coming up with brand new courses, and then I have to find ways to either assign them a new number. Some people have gotten very creative. I know that both Valencia and Seminole have recently liked to challenge me with coming up with things that require even new decades. And by the way, in the SCNS, every number in your course has a meaning. So the 1,000 means that 1 means it's a level. It's a course that has no prerequisites, typically if it's a 1. The 2, which is called the century, classifies where in the hierarchy it goes. Every century has a number of topics that fit underneath it. And then the next number, the third number, is the decade. And every decade has a detailed set of what it has to follow. So something like EGN 3310 or EGN 3311, because they sit in the same decade, are typically transferable courses, but they're just slightly different enough that they have different numbers. So that's how it works. And when you're if somebody came in and said, I took EGI 4704 or 1701 or EGI 1702, those would typically be transferable courses that I just decided were different enough that they did merit their own course number. But normally everybody follows the same set of guidelines. I like it when they do, because then I don't have to use up one of my numbers and give that away. Brad used to have to do this. Brad remembers the fun of this because it can get really complex.
So glad you took it over, Ron.
Yeah, I've been doing it now for, I think, 10 years here.
Yeah.
Actually, now it's become it's much easier for me now, because I'm like, I'll look at courses and I'll almost immediately know where to go. And then the only challenges I really get is when somebody decides that they want an engineering tech course number for a course that doesn't fit in engineering tech.
What, Mom?
I'm not assigning engineering or English courses to them. That's somebody else.
I'll clean it up. Just have a seat and relax. Are you hungry yet?
Okay.
So anyway, I think that was pretty much, that's the major activities of the Education Committee right now. And one of the things I am going to look at, because you brought it up when we were going through that, is well, I've got some other potential. Let's just say I got some other potential projects that I'll bring to the next Engineering Technology Forum, because I need to flesh them out first. I got a lot of ideas. I wish I had more resources.
We like those work study students you got, though. That's great.
Yeah, having work study students work on that. And there's the process that I'm going. So the collecting, compiling of basic outcomes, I can put work study students on that. I can have them go to every web page for every single course, look up course syllabi, bring them, compile them, and put them all someplace where I can get to them, so I don't have to do any of that work. But when it comes down to actually doing the compilation of what makes basic outcomes, I'm going to come up with a draft, and that draft's going to go to a number of other people who teach the course, and then they make the determination of, hey, does this make sense as basic outcomes for a specific course? I have to do this every time I assign a course number. I look at the outcomes that you give me for a course, and I determine whether it fits that course number or not. So I'm doing this all the time. Every time somebody asks for a new course, I do this.
And we thank you.
That's where we're at.
And we thank you for that. So lots of work, but a lot of potential good. I think compiling the outcomes will be a great.
Yeah, it's nice to have. I mean, I'm a foot soldier. I mean, I've got feet on the ground in this one. So
awesome. Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
And I think the vendor slides are next. So Al will just skip forward. Here's our list of folks who have joined us. Again, thank you for supporting us and still joining us and learning all the things we have to deal with in the education community that can help you and bringing us great information when you're with us. Okay, Sam, are you around?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, let's go to see what's next. Laura, it might be us. Here we go.
Yeah, you and Laura.
Okay, so one of the committees we had was about doing presentations, recruiting presentations for the forum, but also doing some professional development for the faculty. And so Laura and I sort of came up with this idea of tech talks with the focus on technical topics that we thought the faculty could be interested, ET faculty, or could be any level. And we looked first to our adjunct pool, just in a couple of colleges here, thinking that those professionals who taught adjunct for us would be good targets for doing these kinds of presentations. And we've asked them to provide us with, and their audience with tools that the participants could use in the classroom after the presentation, besides the presentation. So that was kind of the idea that these sessions would be focused on topics that you may not be terribly familiar with, but should be part of your program somewhere, and then to offer some tools besides the kind of lecture portion recorded for your classes, for different classes. So we've done 2. We have one more coming up next month. It's be focused on OSHA applications, particularly for manufacturing. Mike Ennis, who now works with Florida Makes as a business advisor, but was at Harris Corporation and has been an adjunct at Eastern Florida for ever so long in the ET program. And so we haven't had a lot of great participation, and we're kind of wondering if this is something we actually want to continue, or if there's some other topics. So typically the webinars are, the 1 hour time slot. We picked Friday morning, similar to the ET forum, thinking that many faculty don't teach on Fridays. And Laura, can you bring up that poll, the first poll? So we just have a little question to find out if this is of interest to you. Well, let's see if I can do it, since maybe I can
It's
share.
showing the top 4 priority poll.
Right, exactly. That's the one.
That's the one you want? Okay.
No, we want the next poll.
Okay, so maybe.
We should be poll 2.
Yeah, it's not.
The first one we ended up doing in chat because we were kind of miscombobulated there. No, that's still.
Yeah, oh, there it is. Okay.
No, well, right now I see this one is closed.
Yeah. Get the fingers to work. Okay, there we go. Whoops.
Sorry.
What happened?
Sorry, here we go.
Okay.
So the first question is just asking yes, no, if you're interested in these kinds of webinars. And it could be yes, but, and if it's yes, but you'd like some different kinds of topics or different kinds of sessions, let us know. And then the best time slots. So we've got Thursday and Friday morning here coming up. Looking good.
Only there we go. And let's get to at least 50%.
Yeah, right. So,
38 right now. There we go.
All right. Come on, folks, wake up.
These are the moments that we do this to our students, right?
Yeah, right, exactly.
Oh, who's paying attention?
25.
Your camera.
All right, so 3, 2, 1, let's close that. And okay, so there's a great big yes, so that's great to hear. Stop sharing.
The majority still picked Friday mornings.
Yeah, right. So, well, that's good to know.
So these are going to be online, right? These are not.
Oh yeah, they're virtual. Yes.
So we don't really need a day. We just need to. I mean, so if somebody can't do Friday, we can still offer it Friday, and then just come back and watch the recording at a later point. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
That's
okay.
exactly right.
But we still register for it. That's the key. Yeah.
And you can reach out to the folks who have done the presentation. So Pete Sirek, who was on our panel today, did one on coordinate measuring machines and setting them up, and how and why they work and why they're important and that kind of thing. So he's offered to to help anyone who was interested and wanted to use some of that material or the presentation during a class period. So it could be good opportunities for filling in when you may not be particularly, expert in some of these topics. So, so now we'd really like to have some ideas. If you have some topics, places where you think you're weak, or new technologies you're not real familiar with that would be helpful for you, if you could write some of those in your in the chat box. We'd love to get some ideas on what else you might be interested in, and we can start scheduling some events or identifying people to present. Probably not, we probably won't do it over the summer, but again in the fall. So and if you have a Cracker Jack adjunct, I'm not sure the one we talked about earlier is in the, in the list, but certainly introduce us to that person. That would be great to get a good session with people or teaching for you as an adjunct and have some professional experience in the industry. So as we start closing out the pandemic, certainly we'd also like to know if you, have ideas or interest in other forms, going back to a face-to-face, again, mostly topics. We think we can organize a workshop if there's particular interest in topics that you might be interested in going forward. I'm not sure what will happen this summer, but you never know. August could be a good month. So that's about it. You want to close out the poll, or I can do that?
Oh, it's not showing it's closed?
Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't close the window. Sorry, that's all. Sit over here on the side. So any comments? Anyone want to raise their hand and say something, or just open your mic and give a suggestion? Anybody?
These are for you guys, so let us know. And if anything that I've gotten out of the pandemic is I've felt very kind of isolated from my professional development, because it is a little bit harder in terms of going out there and finding it and things like that. So we want to make this available for you guys. So let us know what you need.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I wouldn't mind doing is if some of the vendors could, and I know most of them have some sort of a webinar periodically that you can go to. Bluegrass does a lot of that, and TTA, Jaeger, and so on. Those would be good to add to these as professional development, because some of it we're using their equipment, but we need further training on it. And I think that would help on how to, how this works, or helping implement in our programs and things like that. Because there's a lot of instructors I get calls from that, I walk them through it. It would be nice if we had one big, like this, one area of this, one of these talks that goes over, maybe a vendor would take in and do one or two in a year or something like that.
Well, but along those same lines, and our vendors are awesome about offering us content on that. I agree with you. But having some, like Sam, I know we've called you several times over the last year about our robots, right? So why don't you do one on robotics?
Yeah, I mean, I can do that if you have the Fanuc robots. And like we have a class coming up in May, and which I will put out on FLATE's website. But just the key is a 1 hour, when there's not much I can do with the Fanuc robot in 1 hour. I can tell you that it's going to be kind of hard to do much with it unless there's something specific everybody wants to talk about on it. So if we're going to do something like, how do you program a PLC? Well, that can take, a lot of the time on doing something like that. But if we're just trying to do an overview on something simple, maybe that's a way to do it. But they get the OEMs involved. So like, they'll get the original manufacturing equipment. They'll get somebody from Allen Bradley or somebody to come in and talk about a specific thing if we want to.
Again, maybe it's ask the expert.
Yes, that's the key. Maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Maybe just ask the expert.
And
But
that,
And if I can do it, I'd be glad to do one. You know, we just have to be specific, you know, enough to know what we're
No,
doing.
I agree. But also remember, we know that peer-to-peer interaction with our students is the most
Yeah.
effective way for them to learn. The same thing is for us. And so again, I think that ask the expert thing is a great idea. And, you know, if Marilyn and I can figure out a way to integrate our vendors, we appreciate them so much, and they have a lot of already developed contact. But remember, this peer-to-peer works for us too. Because
Right.
as you said, Sam, we're using it actually in our classrooms. And so we know the little quirks and things that can happen.
Yes. Oh, yes.
that
Oh,
come
yes.
up, right?
Can we,
So I think it's a way of tying that all together.
well, the other option I was looking at was doing, like, if we're going to do, we can do like a training session like this over PLCs over multiple times, and you register for the first one, and then, you know, you can come to the next one and the next one, the next one, and, you know, that kind of thing. So you
Great.
register for 3 or 4 in a period of time, whatever.
right.
Yeah.
That would be something I would be interested in if we expanded it to that. So somebody gets a little bit better training on hydraulics or pneumatics or, you know, mechanics or whatever they're doing, need to know.
Okay.
Not all of us are experts in everything. So, you know,
I think that's a very good idea.
I do have one suggestion. I'd like to see if we divide workshops from presentations. Workshop, something that just Sam was talking about, conducting series of activities related to a particular thing, like PLCs or Fanuc robotics. Those can be offered as a workshop, but presentation from faculty, and particularly faculty and students. Here at Polk, we do have, and you guys have it, of course, special topics in modern manufacturing. In that course, we usually give a project, a particular project for students of their interest and related to industry that they're working. And that physical project is made in the lab. That can be a presentation by that student coming to the forum and that particular faculty advisor or faculty who was teaching that course, and it can be a good lesson for other schools. Those type of things can be presentations, but what Sam was talking about can be conducted as a workshop, series of
Actually,
workshops.
Maureen, that's a great idea on the student presentations. This would be a great idea for the statewide advisory committee to have some students from different parts of this
Yeah.
would be virtual even going forward, but having the students give presentations to that kind of statewide board, and that would help familiarize the, you know, different parts of the state with some of the projects and activities and maybe the industry that was in, you know, different regions. And we could make that a nice kind of event for the students to show off projects. Okay. Anyone else quickly? We can take one more comment or question. All right.
all right.
Thank you, everyone.
Next
Okay.
slide, please.
Send us your ideas.
Right.
Okay.
All right, let's get some updates from Maury and Maryland. You start off, Maury?
Yeah, I
NSF
can.
grant?
If you go to my slide, please.
Keeping you busy, Laura.
Yeah. We are finishing. We are actually on the year of what you call it, extension with no cost. And we had NSF grant with Excelsior College, who is from Florida. They're in energy sector, and they're providing technicians and baccalaureate and even MS degree in nuclear power energy. And with Polk State, we are covering the manufacturing segment of it. Our NSF grant was charged to prepare series of simulations, most related to, again, electronic and electricity, power sector, and manufacturing. So if you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, there are 5 simulations in, for example, in safety related to PPEs. Is the learning simulations that the students have capacity or able to click and learn while they're doing the simulations. And there are 5 also simulations on assessment. So in the learning simulations, the students can click as many times as they want to and go back and forth, watch the video, read, and get reference materials and follow the simulations. And but with assessment mode, they have only limited options and they're graded. All of you guys are able to access the simulations on learning mode. And if you'd like to have access on simulation on the assessment, you need to contact us, either Polk State or Excelsior, that will provide the link. So if you go to, if you pay attention, we have simulation on PPEs, simulations, 5 of them, and 5 pairs, learning and assessment, blueprint reading and job task. For example, in job task, we do have laser shaft alignment and dial alignment, liquid process control system simulations, and so on. And if you go to the next slide, please. Yeah, anything that is on green is already done. And most of those, I'm not sure of all of them are, because we just changed some of the greens last night or a few days ago, are on Whisk Online. So if you go on Whisk Online, you can find these simulations and use it in your course. Again, the learning mode. Assessment mode, because there are some exams in there and some grading involved, they are not on the public. You need to have a private access on them. And anything that is on yellow is getting pretty close. We do have one on red that is, we are having a little bit trouble with the avatar moving around and doing some job task activities with the laser shaft alignment. We did have similar problem with our CNC simulations, and we solved that problem, but this particular simulations have been a little bit problem. So go to the next slide, please, Laura. Yeah, anywhere here, if you click on that NSF ATE, is going to take you to the link on Whisk Online, and also on the click that is on under the avatar, under the screen at the lower right corner of the screen. If you click in that, is going to bring some simulations for you to as a demo, and also as a full simulation. Some of the full simulations are pretty lengthy. It's about half an hour or so, particularly is on a learning mode. And but on assessment mode, as I said, is a limited time that the student have to complete. They can stop at any time that they want to, but the time is measured and number of the click that they have are limited. So I try to make it short. These simulations are available for you to use. First, at Whisk Online. The second, you can contact us and get the access on simulation directly if you want to. And they're great. We are using it in our classes. We can provide the list of classes that which class we are using which simulation in. Another important thing on the assessment mode is a dashboard that these simulations were made to be integrated on Canvas. And the dashboard is giving ability to instructor and students to see their progress. Where was it that the mistake was made, and how to evaluate or how to lead the students on the weak part that they have. So it is a great interactive activities between faculty and a student. That's all that I have, and thank you so much.
So Maury, are you actually using the CNC simulation today?
Yes.
Okay.
The simulation, CNC simulation is not on a job task. It is on a setup. So how to
Okay,
set up a
that's fine.
simulation? Yeah, how to set up a CNC. We have a host machine and videos we made. The way that we made the simulations is we made the videos actually doing it, and then we convert those to simulation activities.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and those are, so we just go to the link and then we can access those pretty easily.
Yes, yes. You go on BISC Online, you can get it. When you're on BISC Online, if you type Excelsior, because their name is first, you're gonna search that very much faster than typing POC. If you type Excelsior or type PPE simulations, all PPEs are gonna come up. Or if you type CNC simulations on BISC Online, it's gonna come up.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
Maury, maybe this is something we could actually do in a webinar and get some demonstrations, and also talk about the alignment with the courses that you're using them for.
Yeah, sure.
Which ones? Maybe we can set up just a kind of how to use these and go through what they look like, and hopefully some folks will be interested in using them in their programs. Looks like
Hey, I'll start immediately, Maury. If you'll put a seminar together, I'll be there.
Yeah, particularly if we do the face-to-face next forum, that can be happen, and also can be put online, as earlier we were discussing online simulation that can be recorded, and people who are not present at that time, they can access it.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And I'm thinking about doing a session, maybe even this, in a couple months or in the summer on this. I think it would be good to kind of think about going forward for those who might be available in the summer. I know some of you guys check out for a couple months and going forward.
Do you want us to go ahead and put our name in there for be interested in joining that?
Well, we can certainly, if you have particular questions, certainly don't hesitate to reach out to Maury right now at this time, point in time. And in the meantime, I guess it would be Laura and I would work on trying to set up a time and outlining a short program, at least to get an idea. It's nothing like show and tell to learn how to use something and practice. We could practice along online. And then maybe do face-to-face at some point as well, or at the
if you send me your name or your interest, then I will send some of the links to you that you can access those simulations directly.
Okay.
And so that would be great.
Okay, that's all right. Thanks so much, Maury.
Yeah, there is a comment from Greg Lewis. He's asking he will be interested in joining a demo seminar in CNC.
Okay, great.
He just posted in the chat box.
Okay. Thanks, Danielle. So did I send, well, we have two choices. I wanted to talk a little bit about the NSF caucus grants and what we've found out so far. However, again, I still can't open PowerPoints here for some reason. My permission's been denied. We can, I could just go around. I know we have a few people here who weren't here last week. I'll do just a couple minutes overview and then put the presentation from the last caucus kind of summary in the chat, or sorry, in the Google Drive. And you all can take a look at it, and maybe we'll review it more later on. The bottom line from that project, where we did surveys last fall for manufacturers and ET faculty focused on Industry 4.0 skill sets under different technologies. We did a lot of work with the results from that survey, comparing industry results to the educator results. We grouped many of those responses together and then added into those groupings comments that we got from a virtual caucus back in October, and kind of consolidated all of that data, grouped them, and we actually ended up with what we called 5 critical cross-cutting skills. Those things included not the unexpected items like critical thinking, systems-wide integration, engineers working with technicians, those types of things that apply to almost any technician in any field. And then we also compared the results of all the topics that came out, which we made a count of for 37 of those came out, little skills that we identified through this process. We were able to map all but 4 of them into the current standards and benchmarks. And then those 4 happened to be dealing with IT topics. So one of them was cybersecurity. Another one was data integrity. The third one was fundamentals of networking. And the last one was a data, manipulating data. And we actually took those to Ron, and well, first of all, we thought, oh gosh, we can't add more stuff to the ET program, so we can't add more courses. So we looked to see if they were really appropriate topics for the 2-year degree students. So we went to our good friend Ron Eglin to see what was covered in the bachelor's degree programs. And it turned out that he was able to help us quite a bit, because most of those topics were indeed in the 4-year program, but the 4-year program for information technology, so BS and IT. But he also identified there's a certificate, so that would be an diploma, advanced technology diploma, is that it? That captured those particular skill sets those aren't on the slides, Laura. Sorry, I should have told you that, so you can just go back.
Is right there, okay? Sorry.
Yeah, that's just fine. So there is one of those advanced diplomas that contains those skills. So that's sort of like our CCCs, it's a subset of the 4-year degree. And then there's at least one course in the Bachelor's of Engineering Technology that does focus on those skills, those IT skills. For the BSET, they just it happens to be an elective course. And, we can share that information, the details of those outcomes next time. So the next question we asked was, are those skills, though they're in the bachelor's level program now, will they trickle down soon in the coming years into the technician world? So that's kind of the question we're on at this point in time with that data. Fortunately, our review of the ET frameworks is in 2022. So we'll be able to take this the beginning of next calendar year, when we start that process. We'll be able to really dig into whether or not or how we integrate some of those ideas, some of those skill sets into the ET degree, or if we really need to yet. or if they may be things we just need to keep our eye on going forward. But I do remember hearing earlier, Maury, I think it was, who said they, during the industry panel, they added a networking course. Is that an elective for you, Maury? I don't know if he's still here or not.
Say it again.
Is that networking course you guys talked about in the industry panel, is that an elective?
Yes, it is elective because we didn't have any room in our technical requirements.
Right, okay.
So
Hey, Maury.
Is it 6 hours that we pick particularly all 6 hours? If a student select to do so, they're going to be getting a certificate from Cisco as Cisco Associate Networker.
Okay.
All right, so you have a prerequisite before the networking class, right?
Yes, but they usually have that before they get in there. So, yeah.
Oh, is it in? So it's in another course you have.
Yes.
All right, all right. That's the only drawback, Maryland, is just the prerequisites for some of that stuff on networking and things that our college, for the ones we offer, may take more than one class to get into that. That's something that I think it's going to be by individual college.
But it's something related, interesting to say that recently I have 2 students who have their associate degree. They're finishing their associate degree in networking and coming to getting another associate degree in engineering technology, advanced manufacturing.
Yeah, those two are seeming to merge in some cases, and
yeah, they both were told by their employers, you need to go to Polk, get the advanced manufacturing degree.
Okay.
Well, I think the other thing too, which we discussed, Maryland, remember in the caucus, was the point that we could go ahead with the degrees that we have, and then they can always come back and pick up a networking certificate or cybersecurity certificate from your college. Hopefully you have that, and be able to go out and do the extra, industry 4.0 requirements for that by just coming back and, like what Maury's saying, do another program, maybe a certificate, not necessarily a degree, but something along those lines. That was one of the options we talked about as well. So I think a lot of conversation maybe in the next forum around or whenever we decide to start reviewing on how could we approach this and pick some of these up.
Right. I think a couple folks are already doing a little bit of networking and Ethernet communication stuff in there. When they teach PLCs, I've heard a couple people talk about that, but deciding how much, or do we need to add that to the frameworks, and those kinds of questions, I think are all things we need to really be thinking about as we go forward with certainly with the next review cycle for the degree, as well as the MSSC articulation piece.
Yep.
So we have lots of stuff on the table that will probably be starting maybe in October, and maybe next spring we'll have to get with Bob Levins to see what the time frame is for starting that. So that's the kind of update on that project. It was really interesting activity to go through. I think we did a interesting kind of and useful process, just kind of walking through the data and regrouping it, and getting the information from industry was really valuable. So it was a different way to get the industry input, but I think it was valuable. So look forward to
Marilyn, my biggest takeaway from that, from them talking about what they were looking at, was that ability to take the data from the things that they were doing and being able to do some real critical thought processes and use it for improvement. And I mean, that's a fairly higher level skill than just being a technician. But their expectation was that even at the technician level, that they were able to look at what they were doing, the information from what they were doing, and being able to translate that into real recommendations of things to improve. So yeah, and we built a lot of that processes into the elective course in the bachelor's, because the bachelor's really does focus a lot more on the critical thinking and analysis of what you're doing. But it's a pretty high level skill. It's very difficult to teach that. I mean, the mechanics of how to analyze data are one thing, and they require a good bit of prerequisite knowledge. But it was well beyond just the ability, the technical ability to take data and, analyze it with some sort of statistical type of analysis.
Right. We can't, a lot of that comes from experience, working with the tools that you're just talking about. And then when we're talking about, a young person coming into the field, it's hard to provide them with that much experience in situations that they can make those interpretations from the data if we're talking about this particular skill or troubleshooting even. So it is important that we, do as much of that as we can and kind of system-wide thinking and troubleshooting, which includes data analysis and interpretation, is certainly becoming more important for all of us. Us having to deal with educational data that's coming down in the mountains worth of data, but also the data that they can now get on the floor on machines that instantly instead of like next week or the week after that. So certainly something for us to talk about as we review the framework. So we're positioned nicely with the results from the forum to take that forward. And so now let's just ask if anyone has any questions on that, or if you want have anything for the good of the group, especially from those of you who weren't here last week because you were luckily on spring break or something, something like that. I saw a few people that we weren't able to attend last week. Let's see if we can call on some. Or somebody just raise your hand and give us an update on your there's a lot of people here still. Let's see.
Yeah, is there anyone who was not here last week that came in this week, wants to give us an update on what's going on at your college or anything new, maybe a new program?
Yeah, can I talk to that? This is Jeff Miller with Miami-Dade College.
Sure, go ahead.
We are, some of the points you've been bringing up here, and I was kind of, well, should I interrupt? We're EET, and we also have some part of ET in there. And Marilyn was talking about those 5 components that were in that, I didn't follow all your acronyms, the M, S, C, ET, where the electronics was not there. But we do, in electronics, we do it. We have PLCs, we have microcontrollers, microprocessors, but our AS program is now transferable to 2 of our universities. We have our 2 signed articulation agreements now with FIU and FAU, and we're working on another one now. Actually, we're working on 2 additional ones. We have those lined up. We have a very good product, and our students are still getting internships and jobs out, and it's becoming very good. We're trying to work with high schools also, which is of interest with those credits. And I think locally down here, Miami-Dade County Public Schools finally formalized their own agreement of what credits will count. And I'm glad you said that it's up to us to actually, I guess in a way, pick and choose, but we're in pretty good alignment with it. Not a competition to, as long as they have the skill set, and that's judged on how they were assessed in the high school. And then we move them on. Everything seems to be working good. Our enrollment is, we're working on it. It's this COVID situation. We have a very large cohort right now, and we're preparing for the fall. So that's where we're eyeballing right now. So that's an update from one of the campuses at Miami-Dade College, and it affects a couple of them. So that was it. I just wanted to put that in there. Thanks.
All right, who was next? Somebody was up there trying to speak at the same time.
Yeah, hi, this is Jay from St. John's.
Oh, hey, Jay.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I was on break last week and watched the video, so I think I'm caught up. And we are still in hybrid motion with the idea that we'll be in person next fall. We're doing boot camp. We started to do some CPT boot camp in Palatka. So that's going on, and we actually, in talking about it, we don't do electronics. We do a special topics as one of the five courses that people can earn. So I agree that electronics is an issue, whether it's 12 credits or 15. It's not, that was an issue here. And let's see. The other thing was I was going to send a note about the topics for the professional development. I think anything around like this whole question of IT or computers or artificial intelligence or what industry's seeing and where they think what we need to do would all be interesting. And I think it's great that we're at that point just thinking about stuff like that. So, and we're back. Thanks.
Okay, and I saw VJ. Are you anything from the Florida Keys? Thanks, Jay.
Hi everybody. I don't have anything special new, but as the COVID situation has added into our already struggling phase of increasing enrollment and retention. In fact, I'm glad that we were to retain many of our students. I think my approach of introducing interactive teaching in the class has added to our effort, and it looks like students from what they expressed in their evaluation. And yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I see someone new from FAMU. Where'd he go? Tijal?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Tijal Malay, and I'm actually new faculty at Florida A&M. I joined a year back, and I teach currently Intro to Robotics, and I see there is a lot of information around new topics and engineering technology. So I would be more interested to learn about them.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for joining us, and we're happy to have you.
Thanks.
And how about Mike Image, Northwest Florida State? Are you available to say hello to everyone? And oops, where'd he go?
Hello.
Hey, Mike, go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, brand new director here at Northwest Florida State. Still learning everything as I go, so it's a learning curve.
He's very new, just started not so long ago. We had a quick conversation on the phone. So welcome, Mike, to the ET Forum, and hopefully this was good and useful for you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Great.
Anyone, how about Kev, who's there from, the list is moving around. From
Alex, talk to Alex. He wasn't here the last one. Does he have anything he wants to add?
And then Kevin Beamish
Yes.
from FSCJ.
Yeah, how's everybody doing?
Good.
We're working on several projects, some grants. We're pursuing possibly a new building for ET. So working really hard on that. We, as everybody else, are struggling with enrollment. Our supply chain management is taking off. We started it over a year ago, but really, we got a good instructor, and is picking up. So we're very excited about it. And that's basically what we got. Good to see everybody.
Okay.
Alex, is this supply chain management or supply chain automation?
No, management. The automation, we're planning on being part of our ET, but that's something maybe that we can tackle as a group. To create a certificate or a CCC just specifically on supply chain automation.
There's a specialization now that's been approved in Valencia. Kevin Curley at Valencia is starting up that program. So there are frameworks for that.
Okay.
You can check that out. They've been posted. So new this spring, I think they're newly posted this spring. And yeah, you can check out the frameworks, or certainly contact Kevin Curley at Valencia.
Excellent. Thank you.
I don't think TCC was there. Scott, are you still there? Did you mention him, Marilyn? Did we?
Oh, he was here last week. He gave us.
Oh, was he? Okay, I couldn't remember if he was here last
I'm
week.
gonna cut him off, but let's go to FSCJ
Okay.
if we can get some updates from Kevin. You there, Kevin Beamish? See with us, maybe he stepped away. I don't see him. Okay. Anyone else want to jump in? We have about 4 or 5 minutes. Well, we'll go to kind of closing out. I think we've mentioned a couple of times we're hoping to go back face to face in the fall in Eastern Florida, who was to host us last spring at this time that we had to go virtual on is volunteered to host us, pick up that gap. We're looking at September 30th and October 1st. That's of course a Thursday and Friday. And we'll just keep you posted. We'll be checking on your availability to travel. Of course, that's an important piece, both financially at your college or restrictions at the colleges, and also, you know, the health situation. We'll have to be careful about keeping track of all the COVID-related issues and closings or openings. We do have a survey for this and for the forum this time, so please click on this link. It's also in the chat. That's where the question is about your current availability for travel for the fall, so we can start gauging the opportunity to have a face-to-face meeting. Again, I encourage you to visit the Google Drive. All of the resources are posted there from this meeting, plus all those courses. You all have access, so it'd be great to have more people put resources in there. I know Ron can hunt you down, so there's no getting away from it one way or another, but it'd be nice to populate those particular folders for each course. And I want to remind you about the Hire a Grad initiative or the PathTech program. Several of you responded to Lakshmi last week, but it's a great opportunity to get some, what I like about it is a statewide kind of initiative that's getting out the same information to everyone from the different colleges to industry, and having them all see the same thing. It kind of lines up with the idea of the statewide industry board as well. So please consider checking that out and getting to Lakshmi on some interest on that. Let's see, and I guess the last thing is we'll be doing our awards, our FLATE awards. We have all the nominations in. They'll be posted. The winners will be announced sometime before the end of April, and we'll be having our ceremony with the Florida Make More Summit. It's going to be virtual, but the sessions, there'll be 4 different sessions, one every month starting in June. But the most important one, of course, is the talent development session, which is where we'll give the FLATE awards for secondary educator, post-secondary educator, and also the community partner supporter as well. So please consider that. We also have a couple sponsorship packages for those Florida Makes has developed for us for the awards. So if there's any industry folks still online, you might consider sponsoring our awards or sponsoring teachers to attend that particular session, teachers and educators. That's one of the sponsorship levels, is that. I don't know if Danielle has posted that yet as an attachment, but maybe. If not, we'll send it out with our notes and reminders about the survey if you don't do it now. So I think that's it from me. Sam, anything I missed?
I don't think so. I think we got everything we need. Just be sure if you haven't put your name and information in the chat box, you do so. Also, if you had a change in your contact information, please let Danielle know so we can get it updated. We want to make sure you get the slides and everything. Of course, it'll be out on the Google Drive, but if there's anything we need to send out or say Maury needs to contact you, you know, for professional development stuff, we need to make sure that we have your contact information. And I think maybe the next ET forum, we take a little time and roast Richard for his retirement. So it's a retirement roast, right?
Yes, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
We have such-
But he doesn't have to pay for that roast. Brad does, but he doesn't.
Sam and Marilyn, I also wanted to announce I'll be retiring also in the end of
What?
April. So I'll be
No.
sending some new contact information for myself. So I wanted to say, after 20 plus years being on and off part of the ET Forum, it's been a great group, and we've gone a long ways from when we started way back with Brad and company. So I wanted I wanted to make sure I came to this meeting to let everybody know, but I still got another 40 days left, but I wanted to say thank you for everyone, and you'll be seeing some new contact information coming from me. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Lenny.
Congratulations, Lenny.
Yes.
Okay, Lenny, since if they are going to do this roast thing, maybe we should tell them that it should be 2 Danish
you got
corn
it.
hens.
You're right, Richard. I'll bring my t-shirt with me that I stole from you.
Well, yeah, you don't want me to go back and get all our pictures from way back. You know, there's just that would show you as being still an old character and me being a young whippersnapper.
Yeah, what hair am I had, right?
Yeah, right.
All right, great.
Thanks,
Well, thanks.
everyone.
Yeah, thanks everyone for coming in. Unless there's anything else, then I think we're going to be adjourned here. Thank you, vendors, as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Al.
Bye.
Everybody.